I'm Annie Botticelli, and welcome to my Aquarius August 2025 astrology horoscope forecast. Well, we're entering in that crazy, powerful, intense, for better and worse, eclipse season. You will start to see the intensity increase with every day that we go into August. We also have lots more things to discuss. We're going to talk about the basic, very important things that will go on this month that will help you to have the best month possible. And I will also drop some physics bombs to help understand time glitches and how physics affects astrology. This is for you if Aquarius is your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising sign, or any other Aquarius placement you're listening for. What I'm going to talk about here is part of your astrological picture. Very late degree Aquarius friends, so birthdays like February 15th through the rest of the sign, or Aquarius 23 degree placements through the rest of the sign. I suggest you additionally listen to my Pisces report, as your very late degree friends will benefit from both readings. Okay, so let's start with the more mundane, easier to explain, more superficial, but definitely still important transits as we build to this deeper physics lesson in how the astronomy is going to affect the astrology, which is how we experience the effects in our lives. All right, so we are in Leo season. Leo season is fire time, which is an element that's compatible with your air placements. It is, of course, also opposing your Aquarius placement or placements, and so this will build tension. Tension is not always a bad thing. Tension is productive. Tension can be exciting. Tension can be, necessary. And so you've got something building in your relationship sector, some things that have to be voiced. The Mercury retrograde process in Leo and the Sun moving through Leo, both moving through Aquarius, 7th house of relationship sector. All of July and pretty much all of August is covered in retrograde, but that will change towards the end of the month. August 11th, Mercury will go direct in Leo. And as of August 26th, we're in our next open period free from personal planet retrogrades. So if you've got to do important things or you need more clarity and planning or big decisions, the second half of the month will be easier, and the closer you get to the 26th and past that, the more long-term energies may be present in your endeavors. Okay, so that is going on. Leo is an empowerment voice. It's a creative voice. It can be a combative voice if the lower level of ego is involved. So all of this is going to light up your relationship sector. So you are going to have, we'll just put it this way, it won't be dull in your relationship space, for better or worse. And like I said, it could be very productive. So you may still be working out things that you had to go over from the past. You may have had some confusion. You may have had things that have been swept under the rug. Those things for July and August have been coming out. And now as the month progresses, hopefully you are coming to an accord. Mars is also continuing to move through the second partnership house here, the Scorpio house, which is the 8th house, in the sign of Virgo, adding, at least for the first part of August, some discipline and motivation in getting some things done within your financial relationships. And then it will move into the sign of Libra. So as the planets, the Sun and Mercury, are in the sign of Leo in your house of Libra, the 7th house, Mars will now move into the sign of Libra. So you're not getting out of that relationship focus for this time. And this can be very productive emotionally. Venus in Cancer is also bringing a lot of emotional connectedness, heightening of intuition. And Jupiter, additionally in Cancer, is bringing a long-term focus on home, family, housing, and real estate. We've got a massive amount of fire this month. Some of it's short-term, like those Leo placements, but some of it's longer-term, like Saturn recently in Aries, Neptune recently in Aries, Chiron still hanging on in Aries, and Ceres moving through a lot quicker than those. But all of this fire energy is making this climate for action, okay? And as I said, it may be a little bit harder to take external actions in the retrograde because you may be waiting on other people. But if you're working on short-term things, if you're just getting things cleared up and organized and doing things that could be easily fixed if they get messed up, like not long-term commitments, this is a great time to be productive. And then as the month progresses, you can start to negotiate those bigger long-term deals. But either way, having so much power and fire is really, driving to long and short-term action. And all of these Aries placements are activating your third house of Gemini, which has to do with the spoken word, the written word, communication of all kinds, mobility. And so you're having a lot of accentuation of this space. It may be time to go someplace. It may be time to do something. If you need to get a new vehicle or a new device, you may have better energy for that in the second half of the month as the month progresses. But this may be a time to upgrade all manner of communication and mobility. On August 9th, we've got the full moon at 17 degrees of Aquarius. That's your full moon. Fullness, completion, fruition, drama coming to your first house, which is where that is for Aquarius. Health, identity, physical well-being, the way people see you, the way you show yourself. There's something culminating here. Maybe something has been getting built up and is finally going to come out, and whether you're ready or not. So there may be an opportunity to do something, and you don't have to be afraid to take opportunities just because Mercury's in retrograde. Just remember, it may turn out differently, or it may be shorter term or differently termed than expected. But you can still feel free to follow your intuition and, say yes to some opportunities that may come up for you to shine at this time, because the days around August 9th may throw you into the limelight. In the days around August 22nd or 23rd, depending on your time zone, we've got a new moon at 0 degrees of Virgo. This is accentuating this 8th house of partnerships, adding further reiteration to what I talked about before of these dealings with estates and other people's money and joint money and collaboration. And this is really important because this 0 degree point means that the next new moon is going to be at 29 degrees, which means that's a Virgo, which is the second new moon in the same sign, which makes it a black moon. That black moon on September 21st is actually also a solar eclipse. So we've got a building process here, and these days around the 22nd or 23rd are adding to what's going to happen. Now, I will also tell you we've got fewer annoying nuisance aspects compared to sweet ones this month, but not by very many. And there is a huge cluster of them from August 24th through August 27th. So at the same time this new moon is happening, we can see some points of conflict. But from these points of conflict may come the radical change. And that's what eclipse time is about. We will get to that. So this is a time to plant seeds for the types of relationships and financial dealings and deep, intimate connections that you want to have. It's time to take stock in what is not going right. The retrograde will help with that. The sun adding a spotlight to that arena, this 7th, 8th house partnership duo. So you can see more clearly the places where things are working in all of your relationships and how you do relationships, and the places where they're not. The Mercury retrograde time is a time to clear the air, and the Mars energy is giving you motivation to take steps towards changing. Something we have to remember about us and timelines, and I'll get more into timelines here as we go deeper into the eclipse discussion, is that the things that you do now are putting you on a certain trajectory. If you do something different, you go on a different trajectory. And this period of time is showing you what you did in the past led you to where you are now. So the past is here, and you did things in the past, and that led you to here. All right, so now the things you do will lead you to the future. So for instance, let's say you have to take a big trip tomorrow, and you're going to be short on time in the morning, and you decide you're going to get gas the day before. You set yourself up now for the future timeline. If you don't get gas now, you'll also set yourself up for a future timeline, but it will be a little different. You see, so the actions that you take now can change the future timeline of yourself. And from your relationship and your financial perspective, this is very much in your face. And you really are called to look at what things you are doing now that are putting you on a certain trajectory, and what you can do now to put yourself on your desired trajectory where you in the future will be the happiest possible. And this new mood seed planting, as it relates to this deeper cycle of this black moon eclipse, is part of that process. I talked a lot about this in the July report, so you can go back and listen to that one for more, but I just want to mention that Uranus is now, as of July, in fellow air sign Gemini for a very long time, 7 to 8 years, where you will have trine energy with your Aquarius placements. So innovation, doing things new, shaking up your love life, how you do romance, how you work with kids, how you unleash your creative potential upon the world. All of that is getting a new up level. And that is very recent, although you may have been starting to feel it over recent months. That is something active that's happening now, and you can think about the timelines as I spoke about them here in all of the areas of your life. Uranus represents sudden change, and so you may make some sudden changes to bring your happiest timeline into your future experience. Okay, so now let's dive into a little bit of a physics lesson here. Okay, so astronomy is the process of looking at celestial bodies and measuring and observing them. And astrology is the art and the science of looking at the astronomy, adding in archetypal energies, seeing how all of the above makes sense to us below. So it's the way that we interact with the mechanisms of the universe and look for meaning for us. And this astronomy and astrology has been done for all of recorded history. Where there is written language or written expression, we see the use of astronomy and astrology in our daily lives. And that is because it works. This is a path through which we can travel to understand how things outside of us will create changes inside of us. So at eclipse time, if you've heard me talking about, if you know my work and you've heard me talking about this before, I always talk about how karma can clear in an instant during eclipse time, that timelines can shift, that maybe you're on any number of these timelines, and then all of a sudden the eclipse comes and now you're on this timeline, going in this completely different direction, on a different trajectory altogether. And I want to talk about some of the physical reasons why that's true from the astronomical perspective that reflects back to us holographically in our personal experience, okay? So eclipses are not just astronomical events. They're not just astrological events. They're not just astronomically and astrologically intense. They are physically disorienting, light warping, sound muffling, electromagnetic altering cosmic events that bend time and space differently. Okay, so Einstein's theory of general relativity tells us that time and space bend around objects of mass, and the greater the mass, the more warping of time and space occurs. I was just recently at the Chicago Museum of Science and Natural History. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place. The whole city is amazing. I love it. But this, they had this thing that you could do there, basically, where you stood on the floor, and they were showing this general relativity process in motion, where you were standing on the floor, and these just beams of just light and time, these things were moving around randomly. And then as you stood on this mat thing or whatever, the ground, these erratic energetics started moving around you. You were the item of mass. And you could see how time and space was warping around you as the individual. And they were explaining that this is what goes on with the planets, with the heavenly bodies, that there is this disruption of time itself. We have thought of time as linear. This is a huge, bizarre mistake to only see time as linear, because it is not. And that's why when I talk about eclipses as being times where you can skip timelines, it's because when there's, basically it's called a syzygy, when you've got a lineup of planets that form a vector, they basically, their individual mass and their individual gravitational field that they had, with time and space warping around their individual field, starts to merge, where now they become like a thing of mass, a greater mass, and it warps time and space. And when time and space is warped, it actually causes these rifts in the matrix for different experiences, which is, it's crazy. But this principles like this, understanding this, that the astronomy is affecting us on Earth. We are experiencing below what is going on above. All the ancient people who did alignments, earthworks, where they lined up temples to match with the sun or the moon or other alignments, they were marking this connection between the earth and the sky, as above, so below. And they had shrines to this. They had things that we don't even understand, but from looking at astrology in a modern way now, you can see this, okay? So you will see at eclipse time, this is going on. Now, big question you may have, if those eclipses are happening September 7th, 15 degree Pisces, and September 21st, 29 degrees of Virgo, why are we talking about them in August? And that is because the gravitational field that is the alignment starts to come into mathematical relevance before it actually happens. And as the planets get closer into that alignment, there becomes a sacred geometrical field of possibility that's activated, of gravitational change that is activated in the time before and after the exact alignment. So again, this is scientific. This is not woo-woo. This is measurable astronomically, and we see those same effects here on Earth. So in August, you will be having these powerful timeline changes occurring in your life and the news of what may be going on. So from the end of 2024 into early 2027, we've got the Pisces Virgo eclipse cycle. For Aquarius, this is activating your money, individual money versus your joint money, your individual autonomy versus your merging, your stuff with other people's stuff, and your tangible world with your spiritual and lesser seen intangible world. So those are the areas of polarity that are getting activated. Pisces, chaos; Virgo, form; Pisces, abstract; Virgo, tangible. All of these polarities are coming alive at this time, and you will see this delicate dance in the cosmos affecting you through timeline glitches that physically affect your potentials. Woo! So that went deep. Alrighty then. Well, if you resonate with how I teach and you want to learn, go to beastropro.com. beastropro.com is where you can find my mega comprehensive system for learning astrology to help yourself and your family and friends, or even to do it at the professional level. If you want to understand how these outer planet changes, Saturn and Neptune going into Aries, Uranus going into Gemini, Pluto going into Aquarius, Jupiter going into Cancer, what some general effects are, but specifically what personally is affecting your chart from those changes, go to Annie B. Clarity, Annie, the letter B, clarity.com, to get your personalized outer planet transit report that I have created. And then if you want to have more dates, I gave you some dates, the 9th, the 11th, the 22nd, 23rd, 24th through 27th, things we've talked about. But if you want more, go to anniehelpsyou.com, put your name and email address in, get the welcome letter, click on the archive link in the welcome letter, put August 2025 astrology. Midway through that report, you'll find the sweet and salty dates, and the whole second half of that newsletter is dedicated towards my favorites and the ones to be most awareful and careful of, where I go into more detail for those. I hope that this powerful experience of physics moving down into your physical reality is powerful in wonderful ways. And I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Okay, bye.